Spirits Got You Down, California intuitive Dana Grant meets Southern psychic Allie Divine as they discuss and lead you through all things divine. Let them be your guides in Spirit Unlimited.
Well, hello, all you Spirit Unlimited fans, and hello, Allie Divine. It's so good to see you today.
Hey Dana, how have you been? It's been forever.
Oh, you know what? I feel like I haven't seen you like in person, like
Mhm.
Zoom. I call, I think I'm a Zoomie. Seeing your face outside of like phone and texting in forever. It's so good to see you.
I'm glad to be back. It's just been a
Yeah.
whirlwind year and it's only April. So
Oh, and let's face it, I mean, anyone listening to this, and even in the future, if they listen to this, we are in a shitstorm of energy. We are in a retrograde of Aries.
mhm.
And I'm going to tell you, it hit like this boom. I'm even looking at Taiwan. I'm looking at the earthquakes. I'm looking at everything that's hit in the last 24 hours. I'm not saying that, retrograde is,
Well, look,
responsible for everything,
but the thing
but
is
it
there's so much
it
other.
does align. It does
It
align. Let's just
does.
yeah,
It
yeah.
Yeah, but there's other things going on besides the retrograde. We got the eclipse and it's like you were saying, Dana, it's all
Mm,
over, you know.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I was just looking at some notes. We decided today to talk about emotional and physical pain and what the connection is, what we can do about it, and share a little bit of our story on where we're at with that. And I'm going to start, Allie, with asking you some questions. Today I'm not going to read my notes. I'm going to I just feel like intuitively I need to lean into you. And I wanna say, Allie, tell me about the pain that you physically deal with, and I also wanna know because I know how connected to source you are. I know that every day you are a full-time mediumship psychic, and I know you rock people's worlds because I hear it. And I also love you and know you, and you're a good friend, and I know how much you give all day long. But I wanna know what physical pain do you deal with, and how do you transmute that energy and give it back over? Just tell me a little bit about that. Hopefully that made sense what I just
It
asked you.
does. It makes I was sitting here thinking, gosh, where do I start? That was an
Yeah,
amazing question, Dana.
yeah,
Um And that's just it. Where do I start? Because
yeah.
and I'm gonna ask you kind of basically the same, but I have a horrible time after a session,
Mhm.
especially if I connect with that spirit who went through these horrific things. Okay,
Right.
I start to feel that. All right. And
So you
then it's
actually take it on.
I feel it. Yes. And I
Yeah,
have never learned how to
yeah.
stop that.
Well, I
And
don't
then
think
as
you Allie, I don't think you can stop it. I think that, when we call people in or they show up or we're talking to someone and we're saying, "Did someone get hit in the head?" or
yeah,
"What tell me about the stomach?" or "Is there something
yeah.
wrong with the
Then
leg?" Yeah, and I
or
mean,
I don't know how
we
many
have
times I
to.
felt like I've
Yeah,
had a heart attack,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
literally,
yeah, we've
and
talked
I've
about that
even
a lot. Yeah,
yeah, and but, here lately, it's a, I think it is because of all of this universal pull and stuff, everyone is feeling drained, so
yeah.
therefore, guess who else feels drained? After I
Mm,
go and turn it on, okay, and I'm sure you do the same, you give it all, and then 10, 20 minutes after, I'm like, "Why am I feeling so tired?"
right. Why
What
am I
I
feeling so
do
tired?
and, trying to get to your to answer because I have to
Yeah, so how do
ask.
you release it? So
I'll be
here I
honest with you,
am,
I'm
I'm
asking
leaning.
them, what do I
Yeah.
do to
I
remind
knew
myself?
exactly what you were doing. You're, like,
Mhm.
processing, "Give me some
What I
answers."
do
Yeah, because you're
is
so in the process. So you take
mhm,
on the pain, you identify,
yeah,
"Oh, this
yeah,
person
and
died of
that's
a
what I'm
heart
like,
attack.
"Where did
I'm
this come
feeling
from?"
it." What do you do after that?
Right. So what I ask, and this may sound silly, but it works for me, okay?
Mhm,
I'll be like, "What is this pain?" And if it's like my back, which is actually hurting today, because
mm,
it connected with a client, okay? Well, then I said, where is this coming from? What is this pain? I know it sounds so silly, but then what I'll do is I will literally start visualizing that light,
mm.
okay? Almost like a heat lamp,
Yeah,
right? God's white light.
yeah,
And I'm like, just I need to release this. If it is not mine, please take it. And I know I'm gonna have some of that left. I understand that, and I'm willing to
Mhm.
take that, but not
Mm.
all of it. And then
So you know
I'll
what
just
you
I'll just
just
sit there
said?
and
Yeah,
and
go
just
ahead. Yeah.
lift it, basically lift it up. And then I'll ask myself again, what is pain anyway? And then what I do, I start counting. Okay. And that's kind of like my little secret thing that I've never told anyone, but I will tell Dana, my best buddy here. I will start to count to 10 slowly, and then I
Mhm.
will reverse it. Okay. And every time I reverse it, I feel a layer
Yeah, you're releasing,
coming off.
you're connected to the light.
Yes.
You know, it's so
Bingo.
interesting as this is such a perfect way to enter this. I mean, I asked you, you asked your higher self, you asked the guides to come in and
Yeah,
guide
because
you,
half
your
the time I don't
angels,
know
your
what the hell
angelic.
I'm doing. So I'm like, what do I do? You
Well,
know?
the thing of it is, you always know what you're doing. This is the difference between someone who has studied and gone to school and they're in a process and program about being a psychic or medium. Not putting anyone down. There's no judgment there.
No,
And there's
no.
someone that was organically born and just does this and doesn't know if it's the right or wrong. It's just their process and it works.
Yeah.
You know, our words are our wands. And I'm thinking about, and
Oh
that sounds
gosh.
it sounds random that I just said that, but
Mm-mm.
if I think about what we take on, we actually have to release it. But I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to talk about our physical pain outside of even connecting to other spirits that
Mhm.
perhaps, I suffer, I used to suffer from migraines. And I remember suffering. They say suffering is optional and it's a choice. At the time, I
Hmm.
didn't know how not to suffer. I was kind of in a loyalty bond, with my suffering because I didn't know that I had a choice to call in the light, which is what we do, and that's where we call in. And this is why your word is your
Yeah.
wand. You have to
Yeah.
call in and bring that golden light and release the pain. It is not ours. And our
You're
physical
right.
and emotional pain are connected. They're not soul and separate from. But in asking that, I don't know if that's too random out there, but in asking
No.
that, what does that look like in your life for physical ailments that you're struggling with? How do you release it back to
Gosh.
source?
I
Back to source. Is
Yeah,
it
that's
or
a
do you keep it at ownership with it
I
and you just
that's
say it's
just it. I
mine?
think a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
mine.
times I keep it. Why? I don't know. But a lot of times it's because I was gonna ask you a question too. I
Mm.
feel like sometimes maybe many mediums, and I do wanna ask you this, Dana, and if I don't ask you now,
Mm.
I'll forget it.
Oh, sure.
We
Ask me. Ask me.
feel
Ask me.
depleted, and I've kind of done a little what I call
Mm.
Scooby Dooing, okay?
Mm.
And a lot of times, if we don't take care of ourselves spiritually, we don't last long, okay?
Yeah.
We
Well,
don't.
and we know what it feels like to be depleted and run out of energy and say, "It can't do
Yeah,
anymore." This is why I don't do readings in the midst of
right.
my coaching day, which is
You can't.
intense. But what I do is I utilize spirit, I utilize the light. I have to recognize the shadow work, the
Yeah,
dark, because there's no light without it. But I
that's right.
immerse myself, connect to, so it's not me, it moves through me. And it's
Exactly.
so interesting if I think about the pain that people that we take on and our own physical pain and how we release it. We have to first identify what it is. And,
Right.
pain is congested energy in the body. We have chakras. We have our crown all the way to our grounding,
Yeah,
our throat, our heart, our solar plex. All these
right.
chakras grab a hold of energy. And so I was telling you earlier that when people say, trust your gut, well, I'm an intuitive. I never liked the word trust your gut. It never felt right. Now,
Mhm,
it doesn't feel right for a reason because your gut is attached to your spleen. Your spleen in the body with chakras is where we hold our pain. Now, we can be guided by
mhm.
pain, but I don't want to trust my pain. I want to trust
Right.
what?
I wanna run
I want
from
to
it.
yeah, I want to trust yeah, but especially if there's a lion and the fear.
Mhm.
And but yeah, our spleen, did I just mention our spleen actually? It's like I just had a squirrel thought. You took me to Africa,
I
lion.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's
Yeah,
like you
I'm the
just took
same way
me.
'cause I was
Oh,
I was in the safari with you. I'm sorry,
oh,
but I
I
was.
leaned in and went right into your stories. But yeah, the spleen is where we hold fear. And with that, trust your gut, trust my spleen, fear. No, 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 no. I'm going to trust my heart. I want everything to be in my heart energy, which calls in the light for transcendence so we can actually stay connected to source.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
any
And
pain that
that
we could
makes
be,
sense
yeah, yeah,
because
it
it
doesn't,
is,
yeah.
and like I was saying, well, the layers, I let it go layer by layer. That's the counting. Okay. So I didn't even
Mm,
think about that. Do you set it? So yeah, that is the chakras. Okay. Which, I told you
yeah.
eons ago, I don't know anything about those things. I should, but I don't. But now it makes perfect
Mm,
sense. So I
yeah.
hope other people will understand that you do not have to be,
Yeah.
schooled in the alignment and things like
Yeah.
that. You just put that light out there and ask it to be taken layer by layer. Thank you, data.
Yeah, all we need
Thank
to
you.
do is being in a loving relationship with fear. Okay, I'm going to be in a loving
Yeah.
relationship with my gut, but everything has to be reconnected through the heart energy. Now we know this because we've talked before about the ego energy, which lives in the
Mhm.
shadow. We need the shadow work in order for the light, but we have to identify which one we're connected to. It's kind of like
Right.
so let's go back to pain. If I'm in pain and I say over and over again, and if my words are my wand, I'm in so much pain, I'm
Mhm.
in so much pain, I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm suffering, I'm
Yeah, you're
suffering.
gonna keep being that way.
I'm going to resist, attract, resist, attract.
Mhm.
But if I connect it to the light and I say, ah, I know this will be over soon. I
Right.
see, I see and focus on wellness. I see myself
Right.
frolicking on a beach. We have a choice. And we don't think it in the midst of it because we are committed to our suffering. So, what would it look like if we release that? What would that look like? What would that feel like?
Just think of the layers of whether it be, extra pounds or skin or whatever,
Yeah.
that icky
And
layer.
yeah,
I'm glad you said heart, because
yeah.
isn't the heart, maybe, I don't know, I may be wrong on this, Dana, but isn't the heart the only organ or something that you cannot get cancer in?
The
Is that
heart.
true? Yeah.
You know what? That makes, when you said it, it feels true to me. It felt like, boom, true.
I'm not
Um,
sure on that, so,
I'm
but it
I've
just hit.
never I've never heard of heart cancer.
Me either.
Isn't that interesting? The heart, this
Yeah.
muscle. I mean, we could go into but this heart, this high vibrational, and it's interesting that we decided we'd talk about this. I was already in the green. I
Okay,
was
it's
actually in
good.
a different, yeah. I mean, it's just like boom, heart energy.
Yeah,
But abracadabra, I will create what I think. Abracadabra, I will create what I think.
that's right. Yeah,
Everything you
and
think about
and
in your
I don't want
suffering, all
people.
of it. Yeah.
Right, and then I don't want people to come back and say, "Oh, those are spell." No, no, no. It is powerful vibration, energy,
Mm.
okay, that is lifted up for the greater, for so we can continue,
So if people,
okay?
yeah, exactly, Allie. And if people ask us today, how do we absorb, how do we talk about, we don't talk about the dark night of the soul. We don't talk about
No,
our biggest suffering. We don't talk about people suffering. We don't talk about people at all. People think, oh, you guys must have a lot to talk about with and laugh about. No, we don't,
mm-mm,
because we understand the more we talk about it, the more we call it in and the more repetition.
exactly.
So
Yeah, never
if we
speak the
think,
negative.
never speak the energy, the negative. Yeah. Because, the energy of our thoughts we understand create our life and only calls more in. And even if we
That's
didn't
right.
want it, oh, I don't want to think, I don't want to think negative thoughts, I don't want to think. And that resistance actually calls in more negative thoughts.
It
So
does, it truly
yeah.
does.
So how, people have asked us this a lot. We decided today we would answer people's questions, but we decided just to not answer them, but talk
Wing
about
it.
it instead. And well, we decided to talk about it instead, like we do. Like we're just sitting
Well,
around talking about the heart energy and how we
yeah,
transcend
but
versus where we live
right.
energetically, where we live
Well, I think it's
energetically as
because
psychics and
again,
mediums.
it comes from above,
It comes from
and
above.
that's what we was supposed to talk about. That's the healing, and I kind of do the same thing you do. I sit there and I'll pray and I'm like, okay, it's going to be better. It's going to be better. Mine is the beach, of course. Mine would be my
Yeah.
snowy mountain, you know,
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
the
Yours
cozy,
is a snowy
you know.
mountain. Mine is a beach. Yours is a snowy mountain.
Mhm.
Did
Well,
you
you
say, oh,
talk
did you
about
say?
north and south here, and it's reversed. You see what I mean? That's too funny.
Yeah. So, I was looking at some of the questions that came in for us. Um, and, I think a lot of people feel very isolated, isolated and alone in their suffering, in their pain.
Mhm.
And I'm going to ask you, Allie, have you ever felt isolated and alone in your pain?
Some may not believe this, but for maybe brief moments, and then I get that thunk of, I'm here.
Mm,
I will feel, and I'm like, I'm sorry. You've got this. And it's an amazing feeling because then I
yeah,
feel that love work or that energy work.
right.
And that is healing,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Yeah.
but
So
it
people
is,
that are, yeah,
you'll feel that, I do, on occasion. And then I snap out of it because I know I'm not alone, maybe
yeah.
physically, but never spiritually, and I know
So
I've
yeah,
got that
people don't even
purpose.
have to think about the third chakra
Mhm.
the spleen that processes fear. They don't have to think about any of that stuff today.
You don't have
All
to,
they have
no,
to,
none of that.
yeah, all they have to know is that we want to reroute. And we're suggesting, we're not telling ever anyone anything, but as
Mm-mm.
psychics, we trust our intuition, we trust the process, we trust God, we trust
Right.
source, but we do not trust
That's
our
right.
guts because that's connected to our spleen, which processes fear. And
Exactly.
we trust our heart energy.
Yeah.
We connect our heart energies
Yeah.
to
And it's so
source,
strong.
to each other, yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's
Your
where,
heart and soul,
yeah.
that they
And
they
yeah,
link.
well, it's, yeah,
And
we're
that
the
heart
out.
is that strong organ. And,
Yes.
you can't live on this physical
Yeah.
without that.
Well, it's being the
So that is
alchemist,
source, you know?
and it also is so if we choose the heart, which means we're not choosing the ego, which is dividing
Mhm.
and separating, and
I
we're
love
choosing the
that.
heart energy that there's only one thing
Yeah.
the heart asks. As an alchemist, it asks
Yeah.
one thing. And what's right about this? What's right about the
Well,
situation? What can we
and
do about it?
yeah, and
It's
the heart
solution
doesn't
based.
think. The
No.
heart feels.
Yeah. It
It
feels.
doesn't think, it feels.
Yeah. It breaks, it heals, it feels,
Mhm.
but it's faithful.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
faithful in its service,
It's amazing.
and the evolution there is how we stay grounded, connected,
Mhm.
doing what we do, and I think that was the biggest question we got without us saying
Yeah.
it. We talked about it, was how do you stay connected? What where in your body? And I've talked about this before about the gut processing, the solar plex, our body's brain, it's different, our brain
Yeah.
versus our heart energy. I've always said to be the alchemist, to be the God consciousness, we must stay
Mhm.
connected to the light. We must call it
Yes.
in. We must
That's right.
visualize. And if we're connected, we have to release. So okay, last question, because I know we have to go.
Mhm.
But if you had one thing you wanted to release today, back to source and just say, oop, I grabbed a hold. I was hanging on to this in my body.
Mm.
I feel it in my body and I want to re-release back over. What would that be? Or maybe you've already done it and you're like, wow, what a lift, what a weightless
Mhm.
feeling that is, because we know
Well,
how transcendent that is.
it it may not be physical pain for some, but to me it is. Hmm. Sadness.
Ah, powerful.
So, yeah.
So in your sadness, when you feel sad, and I know that with sadness for you comes aloneness. There's an
Yeah.
aloneness that you tend to isolate. I always say you go
Mhm.
down the rabbit hole
Oh, yeah,
when
my
you're
rabbit hole.
sad. Yeah.
Mhm.
Some people go, everyone has a different way of dealing with it. So are you able to turn that back over and call in the light and
I
say,
am.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm releasing the sadness because
Yes.
it's not because the stories you've had of sadness, there's truth to them, but
Yeah,
they're stories. And the truth is
that's right.
it's not in the present moment.
No.
Even if it moves through us, we have to let it move through
Yeah.
us and release it.
And I'm so guilty of taking on those clients' stories. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
And I'm not supposed to. And that's the reason I
Well,
tell
yeah,
everybody,
yeah,
I don't know it
you're not a
all.
storage unit. We've talked
No.
about this a long time
But I
and
think that's what really,
yeah.
gets me down,
Yeah. Well, we
and
care.
it's
We
hard.
care
Yeah,
and we love deeply.
we
With
do.
with this big heart energy, we love deeply. We don't do this because we don't
No.
really want to see. In fact, on our
No.
next episode, we're going to be doing a reading,
Yeah.
and we care. We want to see evolution, insight. We want to see,
We do. And we wanna see
healing.
that.
That's why we do
Yeah,
it.
the healing and the
Yeah.
ongoingness of that,
Yeah.
not that it just goes and stops,
Yeah.
but the love, the caring,
Yeah.
you know, and the kindness. I say
Yeah.
that all the time to people, like, "What do I" I'm like, "Just be kind and then and let things happen,"
Oh, I love the fact you say that. And
Be
you have always
kind.
said that. And you, Allie, are one of the kindest, most generous people I know. I love you. And
Oh,
we're out of
thank you.
time. And we're out of time.
Ah,
So on that
well,
on
heck,
that
that's a good note
note,
to leave on. I love you
yeah.
too, and thank you guys for listening.
Yeah. And if you want to connect with Allie, it's Allie Divine. And you can find her on Facebook, Allie
Yeah.
Divine. Is it
Mystic Messenger.
Mystic Messenger? I don't know why I
Mhm.
blanked on that. I was going into your
No, it
email
took me
list
a
and I'm like,
second too, and
wait
it's
a
my
minute.
flipping Facebook, so yeah.
Yeah, you book a reading with Allie. She's taking new bookings right now. She was booked out for months and she is now open for new clients that will last all of 10 minutes. So make sure you reach out to her and stay connected. Stay connected to your heart energy and the light. We love you all.
Thank
Bye
you
for
again,
now.
Dana. Bye.